Good morning. I'm Reverend Curt Fuller, and this is the First Congregational Church of Evanston Sunday service, May 3rd. So glad that you could come into our home. Louise and I are very happy to have you here. I want to take you to France today to take you out of your self-sheltering, stay-at-home orders, and bring you to France. I think you'll enjoy our trip. It's a little exciting, a little going by the seat of our pants journey, journeying by faith as well. I picked this title about a week ago, and I was thinking of those who helped us on our journey. And just 2 days ago, I received a call from Cynthia Tinkham in Connecticut, and her husband, Reverend Alan Tinkham, had passed away. So I want to dedicate this sermon to my mentor, Reverend Alan Tinkham, and Cynthia and the whole family. For the love they showed me, he was my mentor and guide when I was in seminary, all the churches I served during my 40 years of ministry. We would often get together when we were in Connecticut and have lunch with the two of them. So I want to show this expression of my love for Alan and Cynthia being angels along the way for me and for Louise. Peterson talks about Acts, the book of Acts, in the Message translation. This is the early church, men and women who went to the temple almost every day and prayed. They sat on the temple steps and talked to people about the life of Jesus. They went to their homes, they broke bread together, they celebrated their community, and that's what we do. We can't go to our church right now. We can't see the people we love in the church right now. Can't see our family and friends near and far. Can't travel. But we can be together because of our faith right now through this wonderful tool we have in today's society. So thank you for coming. I want to share a little bit about that trip because we went to Avion, and it's in Provence. It's a beautiful city of about 70,000 people. Why is it so important? Why is it so special? Well, for about 80 years, the Pope was there. There was a pope only in Avion, and then later on there was a pope in Rome and a pope in Avion. So there were two popes. So when they built the residence for the pope in Avion and the great cathedral there, it has remained thousands of years, and it still is so beautiful today. It has a part of this story in our journey with angels along the way. We had gone to the French Protestant church there, and we met some wonderful people who were still communicating with us and with them to this day. We hope they're watching us this morning. And they shared about how they had their journey as Protestants in France, how they got their church in Avion, and we know that their faith is very strong. As the COVID virus took hold of Italy and Holland and was starting to affect France, their church was closed on this Sunday when Louise and I left our apartment. So we wanted to go once again to the cathedral church. But as we're walking to church on March 16th, we realized that the cafes were shut down. No one was hardly in the streets at all. We went into the cathedral, which can hold probably 1,000 people, and there was no one there. The lights were on, the heat was on. Louise and I sat down. We thought we could meditate and pray for a while and think of the world, think of our home church, think of our family and friends. All of a sudden, a nun came out and escorted us to the chapel where they were going to have the Mass. We were about to sit down together in a pew, and she said, no, no, no. She told Louise, of course in French, that now, because of the virus, we had to sit apart. Otherwise, the police would come in and shut down the Mass. So we sat apart, but all of a sudden more people started to come in. Another man sat down with Louise in the pew, and Louise said, well, I might as well go sit with Curt. The nun had stopped seating people, so that was okay. And the Mass continued. The priest gave a wonderful sermon about how the thousands of years that church has been there, there's been many plagues. And the people would come during the plague and pray for the world and for their families and for their friends. It was a very touching sermon. And as we left the church that day, our hearts were full of joy, even during this turbulent time. We thought we'd go to the train station just to see what was happening there because we were starting to worry about our plans. Went into the train station, and there was a crowd there, but the offices were not open. And we had second thoughts about waiting until Tuesday to leave. So we went back to the apartment. We talked to our son in Oakland. We were having trouble getting through the airlines. We found out that our first reservation from Paris to Chicago was canceled. Our son was trying from Oakland. We were trying from Avion to get another reservation. It took us over 12 hours, taking turns on a conference call to get someone. Finally, we did, and we got a reservation for the 18th on coming home from London to New York and then to Chicago. So we thought, well, we have another day before we have to leave. But then we were watching TV and everything was closing down. We decided the next morning on Monday that we would go and just leave. So we cleaned up the apartment, packed our bags, and left for the train station. Once again, we got to the train station. We were going to change our tickets, but once again, the offices weren't open. We looked at the board. There's a train for Paris in 10 minutes. And we went down, hopped on that train, not knowing if we'd be kicked off the train or not. Traveling by faith, I said a little silent prayer, hoping we'd be able to make it, and the train left. Every station we stopped at, more people got on. We got to Lyon, which is a big city. Now the train's starting to get full. This young couple came on, and they're getting closer to our seats and closer, and all of a sudden she pointed to our seats and talked to Louise in French. And they had 2 seats open facing us, and they said that they would just take those seats. You don't have to move. We were so delighted about that, but we were wondering at the next stop if we'd be kicked off. Fortunately, we made it all the way to Paris. The train ride was a little hectic. The bathrooms were not working as well as they should. Some people were getting sick. You heard people coughing. And the anxiety level was rising within us, just like it does to us every day now. It's very hard times, and we know that. And our faith continues to help us to this day. Well, we got to the train station, had to take a cab over to another train station. Cab driver had a mask on. He showed us a video he put on YouTube, and he had fun with that mask. He was a great guy. He made that ride as harrowing as it was enjoyable. Got to the other train station. This one was even more packed. We were looking for the Eurostar offices, and people were giving us directions to go that way, to go this way. We're getting all confused, and all of a sudden there was a 6'8" security guard about 10 feet away. Louise asked him, he said, just go up that elevator and you'll find the office. We did, got our tickets for London that night, and we waited. We hadn't eaten in about 8 hours. We grabbed a Snicker bar and split that. Got on the train to London. Louise had gotten a little bruised getting up in the train in France, so she fell right asleep. I looked across the aisle. I hadn't been to London in many years. There was a nice young couple sitting there, and the woman was about to put the earplugs into her ears. I thought, oh no, I've got to ask her some questions about London before she does that. So I said, excuse me, and she said, hello? And I said, can you help me? I haven't been to London since 1969. I have a couple of questions. And she said, sure. And so she told me about the underground that would be at the station we'd be arriving at, and that would take us right to the airport. And then from there we could probably take a shuttle. But I was thinking, well, we're a little tired, and I don't think we can haul suitcases and get on the underground. And I said, can you show us how to get a cab? I think we're going to have to take a cab. She said, don't worry, we'll help you get to the cab, and I understand. So we got to the train station in the London area. They not only helped us and showed us where to go, they grabbed our bags, they grabbed our backpacks, they carried them up the escalator for us outside. He hailed a cab for us and put the suitcases and backpacks in the cab. They were angels along the way for us, and I asked her for a card. I shook their hands, which probably I shouldn't have because of the virus, but I just want to express my gratitude. And she gave me her card. We waved goodbye to them, and we went on our journey to the airport. I looked at the card and said, London Mirror journalist Amy Sharp. So I Googled her a little bit later, found out that she had done undercover work on the wet markets. That sound familiar to you? They have wet markets in London, just like where the COVID virus started in China. And she'd done some undercover work on drug dealing and so forth. Quite a courageous journalist, as well as a wonderful helper to us. So we're thankful we had met them. The people at the airport were wonderful. The people on the plane were wonderful. We got home and we found out our son had packed the refrigerator for us with food, so we didn't have to worry about that for the next few days. And as we were recouping, a couple of days later, we received a call from Barb Bright in the church. We talked to her and she put us at ease and showed us how the church loved us and welcomed us home. And we are called to be angels along the way. The early church that Luke writes about in Acts were people that not only went to the temple and prayed, but they helped to heal people. They shared their food with people. They shared whatever dwelling they had with one another. They were angels along the way. Peterson in the message tells us we are God's love in action today, how we help one another, how we're there for other people in their time of need. You probably had people say, you were like an angel to me today. And that's what it goes. We're called to be angels. Sometimes we think in the Christianity that we're called to be witnesses, just to speak. No, we're called to be angels, helping other people. That's what we can do during this virus. Call people, write to people. Sometimes we hesitate. Gee, should I call them or not? Will they be receptive? We have found out through this virus, when we talk to people that we haven't talked to in years, they're so glad to hear from us. And our heart is overwhelmed by being together in love, God's love in action. Amen.